Today, we are talking with Alex Thoric and diving into an ad strategy that very few people are using that brought in an additional $100,000 in revenue at almost 5 times return on ad spend. So stay tuned. If you want to build a legitimate, profitable online business without shiny objects, without the hypey gimmicks, and without the stress and overwhelm, if you want to make more money without having to be present online all day, every day, pumping out content that nobody sees and hustling DMs to generate leads and sales, then this is the place for you. Welcome to the Digital Trailblazer podcast, your online business university, where you'll learn how ordinary people start from ground zero with no influence, no email list or audience to sell to, and no business or marketing experience, and go from working 9-to-5 jobs to building successful 6- and 7-figure online businesses and all the steps in between. Learn the strategies that worked and what didn't. Learn the mistakes that they made and how to avoid them, and then learn their plans for scaling their businesses and taking things to the next level. All so that you can build your business faster and easier and make more money without sacrificing the things that are important to you in your life. I'm your host, Leah Ray Getz, and with me is my husband, Todd. Now let's get to it with today's guest. Welcome, Alex. We're excited to have you with us today. Before we dive deep into all the nuts and bolts of the ad strategy, give a little context for our viewers. Let them know a little bit more about what you do.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I've been in the marketing space for the last 7 years, working with service business owners, local businesses, helping them with their marketing needs, whether it's ads, content, email marketing on the back end, because there are a lot of things that they pretty much need to do in order to get customers these days. So we were the backbone of their business and would basically build the client acquisition systems for them.
So Alex, I know that, for online business owners, coaches, course creators, and things like that, like getting going with ads is what, at least for us, was the thing that just catapulted us from like the low 6 figures to suddenly 7 figures in revenue. So it's something that I know can be a huge lever that you can pull to suddenly inject a large amount of revenue in your business. But that doesn't mean that all ads are created equal. And I know that the way that we were doing ads probably back in 2017, 2018 are not exactly the way that we're doing them now. Can you tell us a bit about some of the things that you've tried in the past that maybe have worked back then, but maybe aren't as effective now?
Yeah, of course. Well, back in the days, we could literally put together, let's say, 1 or 2 ads, launch it, and then those 2 ads would work for at least 1 or 2 months. And they would bring in, the leads that would come in, or as well as the sales, we would get positive ROI starting day 1. These days, the market is more sophisticated. There is way too much information. Everyone is trying to get people's attention, and we need to fight with every cat video these days, pretty much. So you do need a bit more of creative, especially with different hooks, because that's what's important these days, right? People's attention span is less than a goldfish. And with TikTok coming in, it's literally 3 to 5 seconds. That's what I believe in, especially when you go to YouTube. Let's say if you want to watch a video, an ad shows up, you can only skip the ad only 5 seconds. So with that being said, the main difference is in the attention span. So people don't have the attention span, not as close to compared, let's say, to 2018, 2019. Another thing is trust. People don't trust anyone as much, and I was reading this article where it said the trust is at all-time low these days. And there is another rule that Google came up with. I don't know if you've heard of 7-11-4. So Google, basically, they wanted to do studies. They did the studies. They wanted to see how much time does it take a person to go from not knowing anything about the company to becoming their client, whether it's offline or online. So these days, on average, it takes the consumer or the prospect needs to consume 7 hours of content with 11 touch points across 4 different channels. When you know that information, now you can pretty much manufacture that or fast track it. And that's why these days we like to use hybrid marketing, where we take the content itself, whether it's the short form content, it could be even longer form content. We would run ads targeting our ideal audience to build the know, like, and trust factor to make sure that we show up in front of them as much as possible. So to get those 11 touch points, and then we can retarget those people that watch, let's say, 25% of the video or more, or 50 or more, depending on the length of the video.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So we knew the 11 touch points before, and I think, because that's decades old. Like, people have known that for decades, 7 to 12 touch points. But across 4 channels and then 7 hours of content. That's new. That's something that we hadn't heard before. You said that's an actual study that Google did?
Yeah, you can literally type in 7-11-4 rule. You'll see lots of different articles, people basically citing what Google went through, and the studies that they did.
Yeah, so that really has changed the game. Like you said, people used to just be able to run an ad and they're booking appointments or making sales. And now, the game has definitely changed with that information. Because I know you're running a very specific type of ad that's having a lot of success. Fill us in on what that is and how that's helping you to meet those 11 touch points and the content requirements and across the 4 different channels.
Yeah, so in our case, what we would do is we would take the short form content, reels and shorts, basically 30 to 90 seconds long. Would have a bunch of those. Would also have 2 videos with longer form. I would say 3 to 5 minutes. Most of the times it's about 5 minutes long. We would run that as an ad, just as a simple engagement ad, because the goal again is for people to engage with it. And we would target those people specifically with the ads where we basically want to convert them into leads and then therefore, of course, clients. So in that case, it could be another video ad. But what we also started doing, we started testing this because I started seeing more and more people using carousel type of posts on Instagram specifically. And that was really interesting. So we decided to give it a try. And what we did is we took one of the case studies of our clients that we had and we put it into, I think we had about 12 slides in total. So the first one would say, like, this is how this client got this type of result in this period of time. If you want to know how, basically swipe to the right. So people would swipe through and it would literally tell them each and every step of what they need to do. And they can go ahead, they can implement it on their own or like try to figure it out. And then at the end, the call to action was, let's say, if you are interested, DM me the word, like in our case, it was DM me the word growth. So, and that would trigger the bot and not even necessarily, let's say, manage chat, doing it like we would literally do it using the messages that Facebook gives you on the back end. So we would remove all the messaging and then create this one button with the keyword. Some people click on the send message. They just click on that keyword and it starts the chat. And then we would go in and in person start talking to people. So we could pre-qualify them in the chat itself.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot of steps here I think we need to kind of go back and deconstruct, because I know most people have probably never run these types of ads. And if they did, it may have been years ago when we were using Chat Fuel or ManyChat or something like that. So inside of the Facebook or Meta Ads Manager, when we're creating the ad, what's the objective that we're choosing? Is it messages?
So that's a good question. The objective that we're choosing is engagement.
Really?
Yeah, because that way you get cheaper cost per lead, cost per message, because you want people to engage with the ad, but then there's an option to send you a message as well. So when they do, that's how we're getting those people in, basically.
Wow. Okay. That had not occurred to me. I would have just chosen messages as the objective.
We've tried that, but the cost per lead is higher.
Does that change the quality of the lead at all?
It does a little bit. It also depends on what you write in the first slide. Because let's say we've tried different things that we would mention in the first slide, and if we would mention something specific about that type of a client or the type of a client that we want to attract, we would put it right in there. Because if let's say other people were not like the ideal client, they'll just scroll through.
Wow, smart. That is so smart. I love that, because we knew that about the ad copy itself and the image. Like, we need to do more of the targeting and more of the qualification with the actual copy itself, because as far as the targeting goes and all that, Facebook or Meta, their AI is taking over more of it. In fact, if you go into your targeting settings in the ad set, if you read the fine print, they'll actually come out and say that anything that you put in here for targeting, we're going to use as a suggestion, right? But ultimately, they're going to serve the ad to whoever they want to serve it to. And the people that they're going to serve it to are the people who are obviously responding to the ad, right? They're slowing their scroll, they're watching the video, they're looking at the image, they're taking all these other clues rather than what you're actually putting into targeting. So the actual copy and the image and all that really needs to call out your audience in order for your ad to be effective. But you're getting a lower cost. And this is the other thing, is that your ad objective will largely determine your CPM, or how much you pay to reach 1,000 people with your ad. So if you choose an objective that it just innately has a cheaper CPM, you can really kind of hack the system and get a lower. I love that you're doing that. That is so.
You actually can hack the system because let's say like a typical book call funnel, or like it's basically a VSL funnel, right? Somebody sees an ad, they go, they click, they go to the landing page, they fill out the form, they watch the VSL, and then maybe 1% of those people out of 100 will book the call. Of course, like you can play around with numbers, but this way people don't necessarily need to go through all those steps, and you can chat with them right there. First of all, people are used to chatting. Like everyone is on their phones these days, and they'd rather send a text message than even talk to each other or like call someone. So that's why this type of strategy works well as well.
Yeah. Okay. So this type of ad that you're running, is it only an Instagram carousel ad? Or are we running this on Facebook too? Or
so in this case, it would be only Instagram, yeah, because that's where you can swipe through basically. Because in case with Facebook, people would just see a bunch of different images mixed up together.
Okay. So this is specifically an Instagram carousel ad with the number of images in the carousel. Is more better, or can we do this with 3 to 5 images, or how do you know how many images you need to put in there?
So we've tried with 10, we've tried with 12. I would say 12 worked because we could put in more content into it, but at the same time, we don't put too much information, too much text on the image itself. Yeah, so that way they skim through it. So just like, let's say when you write a copy, and let's say we'll take a standard Facebook post, like an organic post, and you know how you write the copy, you keep the space in between, so it's easier for people to read it. It's exactly the same idea, it's just in form of the image.
Okay. And then as far as exactly what those images are, is it the same image across all 12 slides, or are you doing different images? And how do you choose like what you're putting on those images?
So in our case, what we did is, I'm sure you've seen this trend of posting an image like it's a tweet. So that's exactly what we did, yeah. So that was the style. It was black and white. There was no any design or any effects, nothing like that. So it's just black and white. Some words would be in bold. Certain things would maybe highlight them, let's say green or blue. Well, it's just like based on the color of the brand. Or let's say if you mention the amount of money, you just put it in green. But the rest, it's black and white.
Wow. Okay, so not complicated at all. Just very simple. And then when they get to the 12th slide, it's, hey, if like the call to action, is it, hey, if you want to learn how to do this, or if you want more details, just DM us the word.
Yeah, whatever the keyword you want to use. And then right under, they can just click on the button and they'll start the chat.
Okay. Yeah. And so I know inside of the ad manager, like you said, when you create a messenger or a DM ad, it's going to give you a bunch of predetermined responses that people can click, and it automatically DMs you that response. So what you're doing is you're clearing out all of those pre-built default messages that Facebook is saying to give, and then you're just typing in your own special keyword. And that's the only option that they have.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that gets them to DM. That's them raising their hand to learn more. What happens then in the chat? Do we have something like ManyChat or ChatFuel or some other AI bot that's doing the conversation, or does an actual human have to start responding to those immediately, or what goes on at that point?
So in our case, we decided to do it old school. So we were doing it on our own, even though we love automation and everything, and we tell our clients, well, this is what we do, this is what we're going to help you with. But we decided to do it manually. And honestly, even if, let's say, you don't reply right away, people are okay with that because it looks real. And that's what people appreciate. That's what I noticed.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Because if you get a response right away, you know that it's a bot and you're not talking to a real person, and you tend to just kind of ignore it. So you're responding in the chat. And then in the chat, are you basically doing like a pre-qualification, like a discovery call or a triage call basically within the chat? Is that what you're doing?
Pretty much, yeah. So just like you would do a discovery call, we would just ask exactly the same questions in the chat. So that way we don't even need to book them on a call. We would ask about, I would say 5, it depends on their answers, but I would say about 5 to 7 questions, more or less.
Okay. And then from there, are you booking them directly to a full sales call, or are you booking them to another, like a quick 15-20 minute discovery call?
No, we would just book them directly to the sales call. So the idea was to, let's say they click the button, whatever the keyword is, and then we would say something like, do you mind if I ask a couple of questions to see if we can help you? And most of the times they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. With the call itself, I don't know why. So in the beginning, we would send them a link for them to book a call themselves. I would say 7 out of 10 people would not do that, which was weird, very weird. So we would be like, okay, does this day or this day work for you? They would be like, yeah. Or we would ask them what day works for you. Based on what they said, we would check our calendar and we would say, okay, so what's your email? And by the way, what's your phone number? So they'd give us that information. We would go in, we would book it on their behalf. And then on the back end, there would be automation with email, text messages, and all of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to say that when we've done a very similar strategy in the past, that was our experience, that if we just send people the link, they don't do it. They don't book themselves. We actually book it for them, and we ask them the date and the time, and we got a lot more book calls that way. As far as the show rate, because I know a lot of people, when they run like a typical application funnel where it's you run an ad and it maybe a short 5-minute video and it goes to a VSL opt-in page, they opt in, and at the end of the VSL there's an option to book a call, fill out an application, they book a call. The show rates on those, at least for online coaches, course creator, those types of people, agencies, typically are pretty low. So with something like what you're doing, when somebody actually books a call from one of these message conversations, how is the show rate? What are you seeing as far as your show rate?
In our case, it was 7% up, yeah. And I think the reason to that is because we would talk to them personally in the chat. And then also another thing is, so when we would book the call on the next page, which is the thank you page, we'd have a video saying, hey, thanks for booking the call, yada, yada. Please make sure that you show up on the call if you're serious about hitting the goal, or depending on what the promise is, right? And then it would also have it in bold right above the video saying, attention, if you're a serious type of person, yada, yada. So let's say, because we were booking it on their behalf, when they received an email confirmation, we would also link that thank you page in the email itself, where they'd basically need to go in and watch that. On the page itself, we also have 3 other videos with typical questions. So it's like similar to what you do in FAQ, but those are videos. And those would be like 30 seconds long.
And I was just curious on, with all of the kind of nurture and follow-up stuff that you're sending via email, are you using like a go high level sort of setup where you can message them back to the Instagram thread? So there's stuff going back to how they were communicating with you previously, or is it all going through email?
Most of it goes through emails and text messages. So we were not linking the Instagram with high level. I mean, it's linked, but we were not doing the automation in between.
So as far as ad cost goes, how much does it cost to get a message, to get a message response? Like, I guess that would be the first one. Like, so when you're running the ad, get somebody to actually click that button that sends you the DM. What was the cost per message on that?
In our case, it was from $7 to $12 per lead per message, basically. What we would try to do is keep it under $15. If it goes above 15, we would keep it for 2 days, maybe 3, because you know how Facebook works. It does need to get a bit of data. But then if it goes above, we would shut it down. We would relaunch it again. And then it would say again under 15. Exactly same ad. Like, we would not change anything.
Yeah, I know. Well, and we've done the same thing. It's really weird because sometimes just the time of day or the day that you launch the ad has a completely different effect on the cost. So yeah, we'll do the same thing where if the ad doesn't work out, we'll stop it. We'll maybe even just create a new version of it, duplicate it 100% and just start it on a different day and different time. And it does way better. Sometimes worse, but a lot of times it doesn't.
Well, it's all about testing too.
Yeah. Okay. And then so from that point where they DM you, how much does it cost to actually get a booked call from that? Because I assume not everybody that's DMing you is going to end up in a booked call.
Yeah, I know. I would say 1 out of 5. Well, sometimes it was like 2 out of 5. But if we're going to take rough numbers, 1 out of 5 would book a call.
Okay.
One qualified. Yeah. One qualified. The second one would not be necessarily qualified for the product itself, for the program that we had. 1 out of 5.
Okay. So that's 20%. That's really good. That's better. Yeah. Because I
like
know
on average, like we would get $50 to $60 per booked call, which wasn't like we started getting that. I'm like, I don't want to increase the budget because I know what's going to happen.
Don't mess with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like we literally kept it at at that level. Yeah.
Wow. And with a 70% show rate, that is amazing. I know for like a typical application funnel where it's a VSL, go into application page and all that. I mean, people are paying crazy amounts of money. Like $40 or $50 would be the very rock bottom low end. And I know people are paying $300, sometimes even up to $600 to get a booked call. And the show rates on those are still just abysmally low. So we're doing $40, $50 per booked call with a 70% show rate. That's great. That is really good.
Yeah, no, because in our case, what we kind of did is we wanted to try it's not a traditional approach. I mean, in digital marketing, it's all new, but we kind of wanted to go, I guess, back to the roots in a way and do things a little more manually.
So one of the other questions I had, because I know these messenger type ads, we've done this, but not with Carousel. We did it with like offering a free PDF lead magnet or something, and people had to DM us to be able to get that. And so that's kind of how we did that. Have you tested other ways of getting people to DM you? Like, for example, with a video instead of a Carousel ad, or with offering them a free PDF or a free mini course or something like that? Have you tried other things?
We've tried videos. We've tried comment. Yeah, so we've tried writing reels, and then it would be DM me or comment right below. What we notice is commenting works really well. It's harder to make people comment unless you have a good offer. So if the offer is like so, DMing it would work better because it's easier for people to just click on the button, send message, and then again, window shows up. They click on the keyword, and then the link would be sent to them. So even if they, let's say, they get the link to the resource, to the PDF, whatever the resource is, we would go in and then we would follow up with them to make sure that they got it. Of course, we could go into the system and then see if they download it and you know how it works on the back end. But we would go in and basically have that human touch.
So they DM you that first message. You just send them a link directly to the resource without them having to give a name or an email or anything?
Yeah, and the idea behind that is that they can go in, fill out the form, and get it by email. But at the same time, we have another channel to talk to them. So of course, they're going to have, they will be receiving emails. We could also call them and ask them if they need anything else. But then at the same time, we have them in our DMs. So now we have those three channels.
Okay, so the link you give them is for an opt-in form.
Yeah, exactly.
That asks for the name, email, and phone number. Okay, good. So you're capturing that right up front, and then okay.
And then for the phone number, we would do it optional. But these days, where we're starting to do now, we didn't launch that yet. We're working on it right now. So in the phone number section, when you want to mention something, so it's going to say something like, so they're getting the resource, let's say the PDF, the checklist, and then in the phone number section, we would tell them, also, if you want to get this, make sure that you put in your real number, because most of the times you get fake numbers. So something that complements that checklist, or basically something that complements that resource. Also, if you want to make sure that you put in your real number, and you'll also get this by text.
That's another smart move. A lot of what you're doing is really smart, and I really love it. Because it's, like you said, it's things that you don't know unless you test it out. So I can tell that you've definitely been testing a bunch of different things. And with marketing, that's kind of the name of the game. Like you got to be testing new things all the time, or even just retesting old things that nobody else is doing anymore. One of the things that we learned early on in our journey was that when everybody else is zigging, you need to be zagging. And it didn't matter what it was. Like if everybody else is already on the bandwagon and you're late, good luck. You're not really going to get the results that you're seeing in the testimonials. So a lot of this is just a matter of seeing what everybody else is doing and then finding something else that will work. And a lot of times that means circling back to the thing that everybody is not doing anymore, that's already been done, and it works again, right? So I love that you're doing this. Have you tested out any other platforms? Can you even do this on TikTok, or like you mentioned, I think before YouTube, I don't know that YouTube would have any type of functionality like this, but not even Facebook or something like that. Like, have you tried something similar on those other platforms?
We've tried a similar thing with Facebook, where we would ask them to basically send us a message or send us a DM. It would be the same process, but I don't know. With Facebook, it feels like people are not as engaged or not as eager to send messages, not necessarily. So we noticed that it's specifically the thing with Instagram.
Well, and I think with Facebook, like Messenger is used for a lot of other things other than just DMing people. Like you can get into DM chats in groups. I mean, there's so many things that your DMs are just flooded in Facebook. Whereas I think in Instagram, when you get a DM, it's much more of a unique thing. Like not a lot of people are not using that the way that they would use it in Facebook. So I can see why that would be more effective there.
And one more thing, in case with Instagram. So what I'm sure you've heard that before, but if you didn't, well, you can use it. When let's say you talk to someone, you ask them a question, and they're not really getting back to you, and it shows that they didn't even see the message itself. So you can go in, you can unsend the message, and then send exactly the same message. And it's only on Instagram that the message is being removed, and it doesn't show that the message was deleted. So it's gone, unless the person sent the message to someone, like forwarded the message to someone else. Only in that case is being saved. Yeah, so if you unsend it, it's pretty much gone on both ends. So you can send exactly the same, like, next question, and it's going to look like a real conversation. Because again, people are busy, like something might happen, and yeah.
So that bumps you up to the top of the
Again,
message.
yeah.
Have you tried anything on TikTok? Because I know that they have carousels now.
Yeah.
With TikTok.
We haven't tried that on TikTok. I'm not sure how that is going to work with TikTok, if it's going to be the same process, but so far we've stayed with Instagram. I don't know. For me personally, honestly, TikTok is more like a fun place where people go to be entertained. And I'll tell you why. Like, I have like a prospect that I'm chatting with. He's in the financial industry, financial advisor. He has one of the biggest TikTok accounts in the area, about like 43,000 followers, and as a financial advisor. And then he has about 8 or 12,000 on Instagram. I think it's 8,000 on Instagram. And he told me about that he's getting clients from TikTok, but then he also gets clients from Instagram. And I asked him, it's amazing. I mean, to get to that level as a financial advisor, that's awesome. Especially being like in the local area in a way, like in the province itself. The main question that I had for him, I was like, what's the quality like of leads that you get of people that reach out to you from TikTok? He's like, Instagram is better. So that's why I prefer Instagram or Facebook compared to TikTok.
So I know another part of running ads is also retargeting. And it's one of the ways that we can, even if somebody doesn't opt in the first time or something like that, like we can retarget them with a different offer, or, there's a bunch of different ways that we can leverage retargeting. Do you retarget your leads at all, or retarget people who maybe started the conversation but didn't continue it? Or are there any things that you're doing with retargeting?
Yeah, so what we like to do is, as I mentioned earlier, with the short form content, let's say based on, like, we would take 5 short form videos, 30 to 90 seconds long. We'd run those, let people consume the content, let them be educated by us in a way. And we would also run longer form content. We would take people who watch at least, so let's say, I'll give you an example. If we run a short form content, like a 60-second video, we would retarget people that watched at least 50% of that video, 50 plus, right? So in that case, it would be 30 seconds and more. So people stopped and they watched at least 30 seconds. That means they got interested at some point. And especially those ones that watched longer videos for a longer period of time. Let's say, like, most of the times people would go to YouTube to watch longer form videos to learn something. So, but when they're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, and they're just, I don't know, spending their time, and they stop to watch 2 or 3 or 5 minutes long video, it means that's their pain point. Those are the ideal clients for us. So we would retarget those people with the offer itself. We don't only retarget with a carousel ad. That's one thing. We could also send them directly to book a call, because at this point they pretty much know us. But yes, we always run those type of ads, because you can literally run, let's say, $5 a day, or like, say, $3 a day, have 5 ads, and run them for 30 days in one campaign, in one ad set, or actually in one campaign. So you have it broken down evenly. So that way you get to build this, we call it an invisible pipeline, because, like, you don't necessarily know who those people are. Of course, Facebook knows. You don't have their contact info yet, but you're building this goodwill in the marketplace. So, like, people buy from you when they know, like, and trust you. So that's the main goal. So you become kind of the go-to person in your either area locally or in the industry itself.
So you're running some sort of a video ad and the front end to build the audience. in order to target with your carousel ads later on. And then your carousel ads, are you only running those to the retargeting audience, or are you also running those to a cold audience as well?
Yeah, so we run both cold and retargeting audience, yeah.
Have you noticed a difference in cost between those two, or even a difference in book a call rates or close rates?
I would say the cost per lead is more or less the same, but the quality of leads is definitely better of people that come from retargeting ads, because at that point they know who you are. They did because you know how it is, like people will Google you, they'll do the research. Like we've had a lot of, like, I'll give you an example. I had a call with someone with a prospect, and he told me, I liked your content, checked out your website, guys. And on our website, on the homepage, one of the things that we have is our values, and things like 1% better, let's say family first. So certain things that people could connect with, and well, that's what's important for us, and that's the type of clients that we want to work with. And that pretty much told me that people do the research before they book a call or they buy something with you. And it's some people, I don't remember who said it. Maybe you guys remember. Like people make the decision way before they get on a call with you.
Yeah, we found the same thing, is that once people kind of book a call with us, and typically we'll send them a bunch of videos at that point that tell them more about us and our process and everything else like that. Once they've kind of gone through that whole process and they learn about us, by the time they show up to the call, like you said, they've already made the decision. They're either going to buy or they're just there to kick the tires. And if they're there to kick the tires, it's typically a no. And then if it's a no for sure, they typically cancel the call. So it saves us time. You could say, yeah, run messenger ads, and it's a great way to generate, leads and revenue for your business. That's very different from what you're doing, because what you're doing is so detailed, and I can tell that you've tested out so many things. It's no wonder that you're getting such a great result like this. 5 times return on ad spend is crazy. That's where you know that you've got a business that you can scale to 7 figures and beyond. So I love that you're doing this and that this is working for you. If people want to know more about you and what you do and how you can help them, where should they head?
They can go to our website, it's buildingcomeondemand.com. They can get the free resources that we have on the website, some of the strategies that we cover today. We have the 9 steps that our clients usually go through, or most of the clients. As I mentioned earlier, we figured there are certain things that they have to go through, so they can go ahead and download it for themselves.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Alex, this has been an amazing conversation. We got into so many amazing things. There's so many gold nuggets in here. I know our audience is going to love it. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
You've been listening to the Digital Trailblazer podcast. For show notes and information about today's guest, head to digitaltrailblazer.com. Now, if you love this episode, if you got some value, make sure you leave us a review and subscribe. And be sure to share this episode with anyone you know who could use help to build their business. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.